Picture this. You are at a crowded playground, the sun is starting to set, and it is time to go home for dinner. You give your 3-year-old the standard 5-minute warning. You say, "Okay, buddy, one last time down the slide, and then we are leaving." He slides down, you take his hand, and suddenly, the switch flips. He rips his hand away from yours. He drops his entire body weight into the dirt. His back arches, his face turns bright red, and a deafening, piercing scream echoes across the park. Instantly, every other parent turns to look. You can feel their eyes burning into the back of your neck. Panic sets in. Your Western parenting instincts scream at you to take control. You try reasoning. "We have to go eat." You try bribing. "I'll give you a snack in the car." When that fails, you resort to the ultimate threat. "Fine, I am leaving without you." But nothing works. The screaming only gets louder. We have been deeply conditioned to believe that a public meltdown is a battle of authority. We are told that if we sit with them and comfort them, we are rewarding bad behavior or raising a spoiled child. But neuroscience, combined with ancient Eastern philosophy, proves that this Western approach is a biological disaster. By the end of this video, you are going to learn a profound 60-second secret used by Asian parents. A method that requires zero yelling, zero bribing, and completely shuts down a nervous system meltdown by hacking your child's brain chemistry. But before we decode this secret, take a deep, grounding breath. If you have ever lost your temper at the park, dragged your screaming child to the car by their arm, or yelled, "Just stop crying" in public, let go of the guilt right now. You are not a bad parent. You are experiencing a biological reaction. When your child screams in public and other adults stare at you, your brain registers a primitive, evolutionary threat: social rejection from the tribe. Thousands of years ago, being judged and rejected by the tribe meant death. So your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, hijacks your logic. It dumps adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. You instantly go into fight or flight mode. You aren't yelling because you are mean. You are yelling because your nervous system is treating your crying toddler like a literal predator, attacking your social standing. You are doing your absolute best to survive a highly stressful, overstimulating moment. But what no one ever taught you is how your child's brain is processing your reaction. Let's decode this. What is physically happening inside your child's brain during a massive tantrum? And why do your words act like gasoline on a fire? A tantrum is not a manipulation tactic. It is a neurological collapse. When your child is on the ground screaming, their prefrontal cortex, the logical, reasoning, language processing center of the brain, is completely shut down. It is offline. Their brain is entirely consumed by the amygdala, the primitive emotional center. When you stand over them and use words, "Calm down, use your words, look at me when I'm talking to you," you are demanding that their brain process complex auditory signals. But the language center is closed. This causes something called auditory overload. To a brain that is already on fire, your rapid, stressed words do not sound like comfort. They sound like aggressive, barking threats. You are accidentally pouring auditory gasoline onto an electrical fire. The brain's only defense mechanism against this overload is to scream louder to drown you out. If you are tired of fighting your child's biology and want to learn how to actually work with their developing brain, take 1 second to hit that subscribe button. Let's keep decoding parenting together. Now, let's look at the exact 4-step Asian framework that extinguishes this fire in 60 seconds. To stop the meltdown, we have to abandon the Western obsession with immediate compliance and embrace a profoundly different approach. Here is the step-by-step Jeong Amae Framework. Step 1. The Jeong Drop. Jeong is a deeply rooted Korean concept that describes an invisible, unbreakable emotional bond and holding space for someone without needing words. When the tantrum starts, your first rule is absolute silence. Shut your mouth. No negotiating, no shushing, no explaining. Then immediately drop your physical elevation. Do not stand over them like a giant authority figure. Drop to your knees or sit flat on the dirt right next to them. By eliminating your imposing height and cutting off all auditory input, you instantly remove the primary threats their amygdala is fighting against. Step 2. The Ame, anchor. Ame is a foundational Japanese cultural concept. It means to lovingly, safely surrender and lean on someone else's unconditional acceptance. Your goal is to become the physical anchor in their emotional hurricane. Open your arms or gently place a flat, heavy hand on their back. If they push you away, do not take it personally. Retreat exactly 1 inch, but stay right there in their eye line. You are physically communicating. "I am your safe harbor. Even in your ugliest, loudest, most out-of-control moment, I am not leaving you, and I am not angry. Step 3. The physiological exhale. Children do not self-regulate, they co-regulate. They use mirror neurons in their brain to copy the nervous system of the closest adult. You cannot calm a child if your own heart is pounding. Stop focusing on getting them to stop crying, and focus entirely on your own body. Perform a deep, highly audible physiological sigh. Take a double inhale through your nose and a long, slow, loud exhale through your mouth. Make sure they can hear and feel your breath. As your heart rate physically drops, their mirror neurons will lock onto your calm state. Within 60 seconds, their amygdala has no choice but to down-regulate and match your peaceful rhythm. Step 4. The post-storm reconnect. Eventually, the screams will turn into hiccups, and they will melt into your shoulder. The storm is over. The biggest mistake you can make right now is delivering a lecture. Do not say, "See, was all that crying necessary?" You will instantly reactivate their shame and stress. Instead, keep it simple and validate the struggle. Say, "Leaving the park is really hard. I know you were having fun. Let's go home." The boundary remains completely intact. You are still leaving the park, but the relationship remains unbroken. Now, I know exactly what the skeptics are thinking. Wait, if my kid drops to the floor screaming and I just sit down and silently hug them, aren't I rewarding their bad behavior? Won't they just throw a tantrum every time they want something? This is the greatest myth in modern parenting. You cannot reward a neurological panic attack with love. A tantrum is a sign of a dysregulated nervous system, not a calculated manipulation. When you provide Amae, that safe harbor, you are actually lowering their baseline anxiety. But building this trust takes a moment. Here is the exact day-by-day breakdown of what will happen when you start using the secret framework. Days 1 to 3, the Extinction Burst. The first few times you do this, it might actually take longer than 60 seconds. Your child will be deeply confused by your sudden calm. They are used to your yelling and your panic. Because you aren't reacting the old way, their brain will push harder, screaming louder to test if this new boundary of peace is real. Stay silent. Hold the line. Week 2, the shift. By the second week, you will witness a magical shift. The peak intensity of the meltdowns will drastically drop. When they get upset at the park, they won't arch their back and thrash in the dirt. Instead, they will cry, but they will immediately lean their body weight into your chest. They are seeking your regulation much faster. Month 1, the neurological reset. By the end of the first month, public tantrums will become incredibly rare. And when they do happen, they will last less than a minute. What used to be a 20-minute screaming match turns into a 60-second hug and a sigh. Because their nervous system now trusts you implicitly, you have successfully rewired their brain. Doing this at the park is incredibly difficult. It requires you to ignore the judgmental stares of other parents and focus entirely on the tiny, struggling human in front of you. But fast forward 15 years from now. When your child is a teenager and they fail a massive exam, get their heart broken, or make a terrifying mistake at a party, they are not going to hide it from you. Because when they were 3 years old, at their absolute worst, most uncontrollable moment in the dirt at the park, you didn't yell. You didn't shame them. You dropped to your knees and became their safe harbor. They will know, on a cellular level, that your love is unconditional. We have all been there, sweating under the judgment of strangers. Let's normalize this. What is the most embarrassing place your child has ever had a massive floor-dropping meltdown? Was it an airplane? A quiet restaurant? A wedding? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one. And speaking of frustrating moments, what if your child isn't throwing a tantrum, but they are completely ignoring you? You ask them to put their shoes on 5 times, and they act like you don't exist. Click the video on your screen right now to discover the 3-second micro-pause technique that forces their brain to listen to you the very first time you speak. Subscribe to Mind Makers, and let's keep building those beautiful brains together.